everybody. Welcome to Two Bi Guys, here with another interview from a married bi guy from my book, Bisexual Married Men. It's about bi men who are married to women, appropriately titled. And I'm very excited to be here today with one of my fascinating interviewees. He has a lovely story in the book. I can't wait for you all to read it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today. Welcome to Two Bi Guys, Andre T. Short.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So good to see you again.
You too.
And for you to be here. So in the book, your name is Kaiko. Is that right? Yes, Kaiko.
Yep. Or Kaiko, by the way. You don't have to do the extra.
Kaiko.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was doing that in my head as I read it. Kaiko. Okay. So actually, let's start there because in other cases, I chose people's names because they didn't care. And what I would do is I would go to their birth year and look up common names, find their name, and then pick a name near there in popularity. So that, if you had a common name, you'd stick with a common name and not. But I also offered people, you can pick your pseudonym. And we sort of collaborated on this one. Can you tell me how we came up with Kaiko?
Sure. I just felt like, no offense, Troy just felt a little bland because I find my name to be a little interesting. And most people, when I tell people, they're like, what's your name? And I say Andre, they usually go, oh, it's like, oh, that's nice. That's not very common. I mean, if I were, in France, it would be super common, but it's not usually common where I tend to find myself. So I just wanted something a little richer and something a little bit more that would clue in that I'm not a white man. Mm-hmm. So Kaiko's cool. Very Hawaiian. I'm Hawaiian myself, so I thought, that let's go with that.
I love it. I wish that. I mean, I don't wish, but I like that you took me up on the option to choose your own pseudonym. Let me also start here. I'm asking everyone this before we get into your actual story. Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to participate in this project? I think you were in the second round of interviews in 2022. Yeah. So I put out this call and you answered. And why did you choose to reach out and participate?
I didn't think that it would necessarily end up happening, but I thought, you know what, you might as well put your best foot forward and see what happens. I think I'm always becoming more and more comfortable in who I am, and part of that is my bisexuality. And so I thought it would be something that would be helpful for me to just keep sitting in that space, to be able to process it, and to also be able to pay it forward a little bit, because I started listening to Two Bi Guys when it initially came out, because I was soups in the closet and I wasn't sure. I didn't have the language to even describe how I felt, what I was thinking. And it really just, it helped me a lot. And I thought, if we can also make room for other people to feel like they're seen and heard, and give them maybe some more stories and language around how they might be feeling, then that would be something to be a part of.
I love it. And I love your young millennial slang with soups. I mean, you're not that much younger than me, but I think you are the youngest person I interviewed for the book, because it's married people. So,
right.
We're not going to get them too young, especially bi guys. But I love it. Do you identify as a millennial, or are you?
I'm very much so. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm too many years away from Gen Z to be even close. So,
okay, cool. Then we're in the same generation. That makes me feel not too old. Okay.
I do what I can.
Okay. Well, I want to come back to how the project helped you process and think through some of this stuff, but let's get sort of the overview of your story. There's a lot more in the book, obviously, but tell me a little bit about, so you were listening to the podcast and you were not out. What did you know before then? When did you sort of become somewhat aware, and what was the journey toward coming out?
That's a good question. I think I was always aware. I always thought everybody was hot which is actually how I describe my bisexuality. Is I like everybody and I can see the best in everybody. So I didn't think that it was an option, though, to like both. I thought you could only like one, especially growing up in the church and having gone through most of my education in Christian school. It was all very it was loaded. Like you couldn't be anything but straight. And I thought, well, this is, an option that I do feel, so why don't we just go with that one? Not realizing that both is also a valid option.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's always been there, but I was just approaching 30. My wife and I had left Italy. I did my master's in Italy, in piano performance, in case anybody's curious. And we came to the UK so I could do a PhD. And by this point, we'd left the church. We had had too many just bad experiences with people who we thought that we were supposed to be able to trust. Like our pastor, for example, who married us, who was actually sleeping with other married women at the time that he married us. And so it just felt like the world was like crashing down
Yeah.
on us. And I just thought, okay, things aren't what I think they are. I'm starting to be able to sit in my own thoughts, especially with lockdown. Nothing else was going in except for just so much time staring at the same four walls. And I just really had to face it. I didn't really have anything else to do, anywhere else to go, anything else to think about. And then I found your podcast, and it just helped me form language around what I was feeling.
Wow. Cool. A pandemic coming out story, I think, is semi common because
Oh,
people
for
really
sure.
were just like alone with their thoughts and thinking about how do I want to live when we come out of this. And I love that.
Absolutely.
I I, I also like your it's a sort of a new good definition of bisexuality. Like we have Robin Oakes. I call myself bisexual because I see the capacity of be
Yeah.
attracted to more than one, blah blah blah.
Much more
I think
eloquent.
yours is pretty simple. Yours maybe a little more eloquent, but yours is nice and simple and beautiful. I like everybody and see the best in everybody. I
There
call
you
myself bisexual because I think you should coin that.
go.
Okay, so tell me a little more then. So you didn't realize till close to 30. I remember that's where your story in the book starts with
Hmm.
like I don't want to not address this before 30, which is
Yeah.
exactly what happened to me a few years earlier. Tell me about how you met your wife and how your relationship started and developed, amidst that awareness and coming out later.
Sure. Well, we were very young when we got married because church. We, you couldn't have sex, so you basically have to get married so you can do that. And we were 23 when we got married, which is just, looking back, it's just so painfully young. I feel like we were confident in who we were, but didn't necessarily, when you only know what you know, but you can't receive something because you're just not there yet. So people would say all the time, like, oh, you're so young. Don't you want to wait? You're going to find out who you are later. And I was like, yeah, goodbye. And we got married anyway. And it's all very true. Um, but I think because we were able to embrace a growth mindset, and that we could support each other even in the changes, because I think compatibility is a bit of a myth. I think you always have to work at that.
Mhm.
And so I remember at one point she said, oh, bisexuality, that's just like when you can't pick a side or whatever. And so that kind of shut down in me anything of wanting to potentially come out. But after going through years of thinking through all of the church trauma and just gaining a little more life experience, I thought, well, maybe she's in a different place with this now. So, and I have the language to actually say how I'm feeling. So I was actually, she was the first person I told. I think it was actually 29 when I told her, but it was like gearing up to be 30 so that I could be, out and 30, flirty and thriving or whatever it is. And so she took it really well. And I was a little surprised, but
Hmm.
very happy that it went well.
Huh. Can you tell me more about how it went?
Oh, sure. So her parents
Yeah.
were here.
Oh.
And we were actually like, it was National Coming Out Day, which I didn't know. It just happened at the time, which was like serendipitous. And
Yeah.
we were just like laying in bed and we were chatting because I like fucking love me some pillow talk. I'm just like, give it to me. So we were pillow talking and I was just like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And no matter how it goes, I need to do this for me because it is for me. And it's something that I feel like I can invite people into. And it's really not for them. Like it's not for you, boo. But even though I love
Mhm.
my wife, it's mine. And I wanted to share it. And so I did. Of course, very sheepishly, like under the covers, I think I'm bisexual. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great! Like, thank you for sharing that with me." And
Wow.
you know, it was a conversation starter.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, and kudos to your wife for that response and that open-mindedness of like, okay, I'm glad you're sharing this and let's talk about it. Not to I don't want to harp on it, but it's just like such a difference from the where you started and all the things you were brought up with in that church. Like, was it really scary until until that moment? And what was it like before versus after?
Mm. Yeah, in terms of fear, I think I was still a little bit afraid after I told her because you have to wake up in the morning and see that person who just said that thing to you. But her reaction was very real, so I was pleased. I think I had just spent so much time processing it
Mhm.
because I talk about this a little bit in the I guess in the book, but it was just the interview that you
The last
did,
time you and I
and
talked,
the
yeah.
last time we talked, yeah, and it was actually the census. So
Yeah.
I filled out the census differently than how I normally would, just to see like if my computer would explode if I typed in bisexual, and it was fine. Nothing happened, and I sent that shit to the government, so now they know. And I was just like, okay, that was January. So then, all the way to October to National Coming Out Day, listening to the podcast, freaking out a little bit if I might also maybe be pansexual, but then landed on bi because that felt more appropriate. And I think I just had a lot of time to sit with myself and think, so that I felt, you know what, saying this out loud, I can be confident that I'm actually sharing who I am and not, some half-baked idea. But that's also a little bit of my perfectionism because I tend to overthink most things. But I I was very sure when I said it, even if I was nervous to say it.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I'm glad the podcast was helpful in that processing. I think you're not the only bi person who tends to overthink things. I don't know if it's necessarily, but it's certainly could be related.
Could be.
Uh, that's the secret way that they erase us is if you put that you're bisexual in the census, your computer explodes. So
Ooh,
I'm glad you made it through and they didn't
okay.
erase you.
Let's not tell that to the UK government at this point.
So I think our interview was about a year ago
Yeah.
only, so it hasn't been that much time. But let me ask you this: like, what's changed in your relationship since coming out, and then also if anything's changed in the last year? How has your relationship evolved?
Hmm. I think I feel like I'm more of myself because I am. So I remember having this discussion with the friend, and she was like, "Well, yeah, you want the person who you're with to know all of you." Like, she said, "I've told my husband things that I'm not proud of, but I just wanted him to know, who I am." And even if that person is different, it's just you can connect on a different level. And
Mhm.
I didn't realize it, but I think that was also part of me wanting to share with my wife that I am bisexual, is just so that we can actually be connecting with each other and not ideas of each other, if that makes any sense. And so I
Totally.
feel like when we are together, we're really together because it's me who's present. It's not an idea of me. And also sex is better because it's freer. I'm not like competing with this weird idea of what it means to be like a man in the relationship. And I feel like we've talked about hard things. Saying I'm bi, it was really hard. And so now it's okay to just ask for what I want and be comfortable with what I want because I'm more comfortable with who I am. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
Awesome. Awesome. It sounds like so many things I have said to people also. I think we had a similar evolution once we came out, but I also think it makes so much sense that when you hid this thing for so long and then you finally say it and everything's okay, then it makes you comfortable with the other things that you thought, you might be ashamed to talk about, or especially sex and things you like and what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense to me. So you married young. Something I learned from the book is that bisexuality does not equal non-monogamy, and actually majority of the people in the book are monogamous, but it is often something that comes up,
Mm-hmm.
that like even those who remain monogamous often end up talking about it. Did you guys end up talking about it, and what were those conversations like, if they existed?
They definitely existed. That was kind of one of the first topics to come up, and we are monogamous. I think it was more of just like, do you? I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to make it sound like it was that dramatic, but sort of that idea of like, do you love me? You're not going to leave me for all these other people just because you're into all these other people. And it was like, well, no, because I've built a relationship with my wife and she's just been so supportive. And that's, I think, really worth keeping and fighting for. So, yes, I would, have loved to done a lot more exploring. But this is where we are and I'm really happy here. So it
Cool.
works.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people sort of fear that conversation, and it often comes up one way or another, but like being bi is not the same as being non-monogamous
Right.
necessarily. And just, talking about that is, you got to get comfortable talking
Yeah.
through why and those things too. I want to ask you this because your story is unique in many ways, but one of the ways is that you don't live in America at the moment. You're in London, is that right?
Yep.
So tell me, like, where did you live until you moved to London, and then like what's it like being a queer person there? Is there a bi scene? Have you found bi community, or just like what's the vibe over there? Is it different in any way?
Mm, the vibes are good here. So I grew up outside of LA, actually, in the one of the world's saddest towns, Lancaster. Don't go there. Save
Okay.
yourself. And I grew up between there and Hawaii, which was a lot nicer. Spent a few years in Hawaii. Then I went to university in Colorado, in Fort Collins at Colorado State, and then a master's in Perugia, Italy, and now a PhD in London. So a bit of a lot of things, a little bit everywhere. I don't really know what to compare it to because I wasn't out in any of those places. I wasn't seeking anything in any of those places. But I do find, I mean, being bisexual in London is like being a ham and cheese sandwich. Like there's just so much other more interesting, crazier things that this city has seen that I don't even think like anybody's particularly bothered. So,
Cool.
yeah, it's
I
it's
like it.
it's easy and I mean for the most part, I think there's still some people who don't really understand, but that's also not really my problem. So I'm not too worried about that. I think you can find people anywhere, and London's a great city to find people to connect with. So it's been great.
Cool. And have you found bi community, or is that still something that is a struggle?
I found queer community, but not necessarily specifically bi, although I do know it's out there. But I have found that more just in my circles that I'm in normally, as opposed to like going out and
Mhm.
seeking anything in particular, mostly just because of time, because part-time work, part-time PhD, self-funding, like it's not easy. So, I have found really cool people though, in my normal circles.
Cool. And okay, so you said you came into your wife first, then when did you decide to come out more publicly and how did you do that? And then how has making those queer connections affected your life?
That's a great question. It's a continuous process because you constantly have to be like, "Hi, I'm Andre. Oh, also, I'm bisexual." And some people know what to do with that, and other people don't know what to do with that. Again, not my problem, but I just think people should know, because I want to know that the people in my life accept me for me. It is interesting though to have to continuously say it, whereas if you're straight, you're just assumed to be, or it's like a default, like you're assumed to be straight until otherwise. Or people just assume that I'm gay, which I just let them assume anyway because I think it's kind of funny. But also I'm like, by the way, it's a little bit true. So, it's yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah.
It's been good. I feel like it's so nice to have. You know what the best thing is, I think, about having queer connections with people is that you can just acknowledge a little bit that maybe we're all a little attracted to each other and we give each other really nice hugs. Straight hugs, fucking hate those. It's just like pat,
Yeah.
pat, goodbye. And I'm just like, no, bitch, hug me. Please. Like, I love you. I want to just hug you like a normal person, but it has to be like, dudes don't hug like that, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
that's been really nice, I have to say.
Totally. I totally agree. And I also have had that. What I actually kind of like about being a queer person in a straight passing marriage is like if I'm in a gay space by myself, people will assume I'm gay, and then sometimes I'll just like mention my wife, and they'll be like, "Oh, get interested," and then
Ooh.
and then they'll be like, "Does she know that you're?" And I'm like, "Yeah, uh-huh, yeah." I'm like, we're poly, we're bi, like she knows I'm doing all this wherever I am, and they're like fascinated by it. And I kind of like that reaction, even if it's a little making an assumption. I
Sure.
kind of like subverting it in reverse of the normal way.
That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
So you said that you didn't know it would be helpful for you to participate in this project. I'm curious, like, how did it help you participating, or what did you learn about yourself by doing the interview?
Mm. I think it's the pointed questions, because you have a very clear idea because you've been out for a while and you've been in bi spaces and you've been thinking about this thing for a while. And then I just come in like this baby bi, like, I don't know what I'm doing. So to have someone who's actually thought about this and who can ask those really important questions was just really helpful for me to think about things in a new way and to have questions that no one would necessarily ask.
Mhm.
um, or I guess that straight people or even gay people wouldn't think to ask. So it was really interesting actually thinking back on it. What was the other question? There was something else in there.
Yeah. No, like what did you learn about
Oh, what did I
yourself?
learn about myself? That's what it was. Okay, sorry, I forgot. I'm here.
But
Um,
that all makes sense, but keep going.
mhm. I think I learned, as I lose a headphone, I think I learned that I can be brave enough to be who I am in front of
Oh,
other people, which sounds
wow.
probably a little cheesy. But you know what? It's true. It's absolutely true. And I think it's just so important for people to feel like there's space for them and that they can just be who they are. So I think the experience helped me sit in that a little bit more.
Yeah. That's amazing. I'm so glad that that happened for you. And yeah, you can be. I mean, you can be brave enough to share this stuff. And it's similar to your census and your computer didn't explode. It's like you kind of have to try it sometimes to know how you feel. And then when you put yourself out there and it feels good and okay and nothing exploded, you keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is a slight detour, but your first answer makes total sense to me because I'm actually this isn't meant to be a plug, but I guess it will be. I'm in training to be a life coach with IPEC. It's a coaching training program because like I've realized that a lot of what I've been doing is in that vein anyway. And what we learn about is coaching is basically about asking empowering questions and digging into things that people don't always have the awareness that they should dig into. And but really, like, you had all the answers inside you. Like, I didn't give you any advice or tell you anything, especially because it was an interview. I literally just asked questions. But what you said makes total sense, that, like, you hadn't been through it and you hadn't necessarily thought about each of the things I asked you before, and just reflecting on them and thinking about your life in a certain framework is useful and helpful and helps you kind of connect dots and figure out what your values really are. It's all there, but just being asked and being listened to is powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Also, I love that for
Uh,
you.
yeah.
That's so cool. That's
Thank you.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I want to continue this podcast and this work and buy stuff, and I want to continue my writing career and TV work and film work. Like, all of it's continuing, but I'm really into this coaching stuff, and it's going to be a nice sort of side gig for me, and I like helping people through all this stuff. So stay tuned on my website. I'll have some coaching stuff coming soon, but not yet, not yet.
Will do.
What is something that you wish you had realized or understood sooner in your life?
Too many things. I don't know if we have time for all of that. Oh man, that's a loaded one. I think I'm gonna gather my thoughts. Oh, just so much. I guess starting with, it's just okay to be you, like on just a basic level. Um, in thinking about trans rights right now in particular, like it should just be fine to be yourself, you know? And I wish that we didn't have to make people feel like that wasn't true. So I guess that would be really the basis for everything. Like, it's not bad to want to be with a woman, and it's not bad to also want to be with a man, or with however that anybody else identifies. But it's that thing that I was saying earlier. You can only know what you know at a certain time, and sometimes you just can't receive things. So, like, even when people would explain to me, that the church was this and that, and I would just be like, no, it's great, it's fine. And don't get me wrong, I had some great experiences there, good community, and some of my best friends are still were from the church, even though they've kind of all left in different capacities, which is telling. But uh,
Mm,
I just wish that I would have been able to see a little bit outside of myself, I think, and my own experiences. And I think so, without getting into all the things that I would list, I feel like those are probably the two biggest ones that would have just led me to being a lot more open and a lot more comfortable with
yeah.
myself and with other people, because I hate thinking about that old version of myself where, like, I was so homophobic to myself and then also to other people. Oh, it's just rough to think
Mhm.
about. I mean, I'm glad we're past that, but yeah, slightly
Yeah.
uncomfortable because I wish I had known what I know now.
Right. I mean, don't we all? But yeah, we're very much stuck inside our own experience for a while. I mean, you broke out of it very young comparatively, but when you're in it, it's tough to see it from outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, let me ask you, because it came up, like, how has coming out affected your perception of gender and the gender spectrum? if it has.
Yeah, I think it has. Well, because I had to think about that. Because I had that moment where I was like, oh, what is that actress on? Oh, the cat is coming down maybe to visit. Okay. She's very cute if she does. What was I watching? Oh, it was Sense8. And I can't remember the actress's name, but there's a trans actress in the series. And I was like, wait, am I pansexual? Like, what does that mean if I'm attracted to this gender or that gender? And so I just kind of had to confront it more than I normally would have in my typical binary thinking of, male or female. So I think
Right.
it just helped me realize that there's so many experiences out there and there's so many different expressions of humanity. And I think of how we experience joy. I think there's just so many different expressions of joy, and I think gender can definitely fall into that.
Yeah. Beautiful.
She's here.
Let me ask you this. Oh, cute. Do you want to
Yeah,
introduce your cat since we're on video today?
Maybe. This is
Shake her tail a
Penelope.
little.
We call her Boo
Hi,
Boo because she's
Penelope.
super cute. This is Penelope.
Hello. Hi, Penelope. Cute.
She's so cute. Okay, you can go back to eating your kibbles now.
Adorable.
Although I should move her out of the frame. Maybe that's fine.
Eh,
Whatever.
she can be part
She
of
can
it.
chill.
We love dogs and cats on this show.
Amazing.
Since we moved to video interviews, there's a long history of dogs and cats invading the interview.
It's what they do best.
Yes, indeed. What's something you're still struggling with in this space or in relationships? What's still a challenge?
I don't know that there is anything like super pressing.
Yeah, if anything, if there's not, that's cool too.
I guess it would be great to find some more bi community, I think. But
Yeah.
I feel like that will come when I'm not so like here and there with all the commitments that I currently have. But that's just not really a struggle though. That's just something that would be nice. Although I say that, and then I bet when I end up actually making friends with bisexual people, I'll be like, this is what I needed my whole life. So I'm sure that's gonna happen. But yeah, for now that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Cool. And when stuff has come up with your wife that is challenging, how did you guys learn to get through it?
Oh God, couples therapy for one. Just like go to it. Even in the best of times, just do it. That's me giving everybody unsolicited advice. I also think you just have to learn how and when to have the conversations. For us, we both got real strong Capricorn energy, and we bring it to the table, and sometimes it gets really stubborn, like the air is thick with stubbornness, and it's just like I'm right and you're wrong, and there's no really like understanding that can happen there. So we just had to learn to value each other's experience, even if we didn't experience that thing that same way, and find ways to just accept that maybe I have to do a thing for you just because that would be the thing that you need and not necessarily the thing that I want to do or the thing that I think you need. And that's definitely still a work in progress and probably always will be because we're imperfect people. But I think that's the basis for that.
Yeah. Were there ever any times you weren't sure if your relationship would continue?
Oh yeah, during the pandemic. Just because, again, all that alone time was a lot. And that's actually when we started couples therapy, which couldn't have come in a better time because and I said this to her, I was at the point of like, I'm not saying I'm going to leave you. I'm just saying that whatever this is that we're doing is absolutely not working for me, and it's not working for you either. So we were just stuck in that same pattern of being stubborn and fighting about literally nothing. because we were stuck together forever, which I think a lot of people, well, I say that, hoping that everybody else can identify with this experience, but if you don't, that's great. Good for you. But yeah, that was an interesting time. But then we got the couples therapy, and that was like a really good reset and a really good way to give us the tools to be able to move forward together instead of feeling like we were always going to fight each other.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Can I ask about your family?
Do it. Go on then.
Did you come out to your family? If so, what was it like? If not, can you tell me about that and why not?
Yeah, I did. And I probably will have to do more because I'm seeing them, a few of them in November. Or this month, actually. What's time anymore? Honestly, I first came out to my mom. I didn't have that conversation with my dad, and that's all in the book too, I think. Just because he was so interesting. Is very abusive growing up, and so I feel like I never really had any good footing with him, and it was sort of like, if you're not really interested in me, then what's the point in me sharing? Like, you haven't earned that at all. Not in all my years on earth, you haven't earned that. So I had that conversation with my mom, and then I've had it with other like extended family friends, just because, I just want them to know. I wanted to invite them in on that and be comfortable in my own skin around them. So it was, it was really all for me. As it should be. But.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, how did it go? And it sounds like if you're going in with the mindset that it's for you, then it's gonna go well, because you want to just get it out there and invite them in, and it sort of doesn't matter how they react. Does that resonate with you, or what was it like?
Yeah. Not to say that it was all a walk in the park, because when I told my mother-in-law that was particularly nasty, I didn't realize that it was just surprising how biphobic she was. I think she's always thought that I'm gay. And so I think she's always thought that I'll leave Simone for a man, or that Simone will come home and find a man in our bed or whatever. Something extra dramatic and, Italian American for her. And I didn't expect it. It was still really hurtful, but at the same time, it was like, you know what, we're just going to keep on doing us. So you can assume all the things that you want to assume. And we're just going to keep on living our lives. And if you want to, be a part of that, then you can. We'll always have that open for her. And things are amicable now, but she still will never bring it up, which feels like it's interactions with her almost like missing a part of me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, we can't acknowledge it. So
yeah, it makes total sense, and it's unfortunate, and maybe that will develop, and maybe it won't. But I also think your attitude about it, which again reflects mine, and I picked this up from someone else too, is like, you're inviting people in. You don't owe people anything. You can invite them in, and that's for you. And I think it's a more interesting way to think of it than coming out, even though I use the phrase coming out all the time. It's like,
right.
Yeah, this is a little special space where you get to really know me, and I want to invite certain people in, or most of the time, most people, but it's more for me to be present and myself in a situation.
Right. Yeah. It's not for permission.
Yeah. How supportive was your wife when you came out to her parents?
Oh, well, she didn't talk to her mom for like a good 6 weeks, if that answers your question. Because it's like, on what planet can you insult somebody's person and then feel like you just get to have a normal relationship with the couple again? So she was very supportive, and angry, I think, in her own right and on my behalf, which I wish she didn't have to be. but it was still, I guess, nice to feel supported in that way, to feel like I didn't have to fight that battle really at all, or I guess even if I did feel like I had to fight it, that it wouldn't be alone.
Yeah. Right, right. Or that she wasn't siding with her mother or getting, taking on that anxiety or questioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is nice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope that other people will get out of reading your story in the book?
Mm. I heard this idea recently about seeing yourself in the specific rather than in the generic. And I don't, I would doubt that any of our stories in the book are generic, because you really have to break down so much to be able to build something back up for yourself. I think if you're a
Mhm.
bi person, it's almost like a mindset, like a frame of mind, than it is just what you're attracted or who you're attracted to.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping that people don't feel, well, they won't. They won't feel like it's generic, but I'm hoping people can really see little bits of themselves in every, well, not necessarily in every story, but at least in one story,
Yeah.
so that they feel like they feel seen and heard and have the language to process really just who they are, and to learn to grow in being really comfortable in their own skin. So I guess I hope
Yeah.
it makes way for more people to feel like they're worthy of being seen.
Mhm. Beautiful. And you've basically described why I wanted to write this book and not something more generic or that's just me talking about what I've learned, but that was what ended up being 13 different very unique stories. And on the one hand, there are these very common through lines. There are certain things that all 13 of you talk about, or that 10 of you talk about, or half of you talk about. And so there's a lot of, like, I think a lot of commonality. And then also there's wildly different stories, and every single one of them is unique. And yes, it's exactly what I hoped to do, is both highlight those commonalities and also give everyone a chance to find a connection and realize, like, whatever your bi trajectory and story is and however it intersects with your other identities and your life experience, like, that's the beauty of bisexuality. It's very diverse and multifaceted, and as different as we are and our trajectories are, there are these some things that we're all going through and we all experience, and yet we often think we're going through that alone. Um, so yeah, so
Absolutely.
I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability and sharing your unique story.
Yeah,
Okay, but we're
absolutely.
not done. That sounds like the note to end on, but we're not done.
Also, though, can I say that after having read
Yeah,
the drafts, I feel like you handled my story, and I'm sure you did. I'm sure I can say this on, maybe I can say this on behalf of everybody. I just feel like you handled them all so beautifully. So thank you for doing that.
thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. And you don't know because you haven't read the others, but I tried to handle them all with equal thoughtfulness and sensitivity, and to let the stories speak for themselves and not for me to judge them, but for me to highlight, the context of them, or that this is very common, or I've seen this before, and connect it to different things. Do you have any advice for bi men or couples going through something similar? I mean, you did mention a little bit already, like couples therapy and putting yourself out there, but anything else come to mind in terms of advice?
I think it's important to know yourself and your limits. So you should know when you can have certain conversations and know when you can't. I think that's really
Mm.
important. What else? What else would I say? Definitely the couples therapy thing. Just would recommend that for everybody. I'll say it and I'll say it again. Um, and I think it's important to be open to the process as a whole. Relationships are a process because people are always in progress, I guess. And I've been learning to be more comfortable with that fluidity and with all those changes. I talked about this in the book a little bit, that sometimes you think you have to, be married and have the 2.5 kids and then have the house, and
Right.
you just like ride that wave to the second star on the right forever and ever or whatever. And that's just not true. So I think be gracious with yourself and be
Yeah.
kind to yourselves and be open to the process.
Cool. Yeah, I connected with that part of your story in the book too, about like we have these benchmarks of what a quote successful relationship looks like over time, and like that is one way out of, infinite ways of
Mm-hmm.
being in a relationship, and it's usually not. I mean, how often does exactly what you think is going to happen?
Never.
Usually not.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to ask you about what you said before, because you mentioned it twice now about like knowing when is the right moment to have certain conversations and how to have them in a certain way. Can you expand on that a little? And like when you're thinking of having a tough conversation, how do you know when is the right time? And how did you know, lying in bed that night, that was your moment?
Mm.
How do you know?
Ooh. Well, I go through life a little chaotically. I just go by how I feel. And I know that's not everybody. But at the same time, it's almost like that definition of pornography. Like, I know it when I see it. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Like, when your person's not going to be receptive. You know exactly what to say to piss them off. So it's important to set those things aside when you actually want to get somewhere, and not to just like poke, because look, we all do it. We all love to do it, but if you want to get somewhere, you just can't. Um I think this podcast, can I plug another podcast? I don't mean to plug it. I just mean I got the
yeah,
idea from there. It's called Sex with Emily.
yeah.
It's a perennial. You can just jump in whenever, wherever. And she always talks about timing, tone, and turf. So
Hmm.
again, timing. You probably know when is best. Friday afternoon after a long week of work, probably want to save it for later. Um, you know exactly what to say. That's gonna like make your partner angry or not. So, the tone there is important. And then the turf as well. Like, we were laying in bed and I love pillow talk, and sometimes I'm like, don't fall asleep, talk to me. But it's also a really sweet, intimate moment, usually, where we can get things
Mm,
out, like it's almost like a long car drive where you just have that time and you don't even have to look at each other because the lights are off, and you can
mm.
just share what you're thinking. And it was just the right moment. So,
Cute.
it's
I
like
love it.
pornography. You know it when you see it.
Yes. Cute. I like how you said you are living chaotically by following your feelings, which maybe is chaotic, but is also kind of great way to live life, being in touch with your feelings and following them. And it's something I used to not do. And so
Mhm.
I get it. Like people want to go in this straight line and not follow their feelings. So it can certainly feel or be chaotic to follow them. But it's also very authentic.
True. And
Maybe
they'll
you're
always
just
catch
you're
up
just
with you.
truly, yeah, right. No, right, exactly. Whether you realize it or not, if you're not following them, it'll cause this cognitive dissonance that will affect you, even if, especially if you don't realize it sometimes.
That's real.
Uh, what are you looking forward to in the future in your life, relationship, related to queerness or not, anything? What are you looking forward to?
Hmm. Life in general, I think. I'm just looking forward to it. I feel like I've often been worried about what's going to happen, where I'm going to be, how this, that, or the other is going to go. And after having kind of left the idea of benchmarks behind and needing to fit into a certain mold, it sort of doesn't really, not that it doesn't really matter, because you know, there's some hard things that come up, and, some people end up having real problems. Um, but so far it's been pretty manageable. So assuming things stay that way, I'm just really looking forward to the journey through, or to the process, to just going through life and enjoying it and not worrying so much about needing to be or do this, that, and the other, I think I'm like ready for it to be meaningful for me. And that's really exciting.
Awesome. This actually may conflict with the living life as it goes and seeing what happens, but have you guys talked about kids? Is that something that might happen someday?
Yeah, definitely. She's pretty much ready. She's like, put a baby in me, and I'm like, look, hold fire, okay? Like, we need to get through this PhD first. Just because I literally do not have, like, barely have the time to take care of myself. I could not imagine another being to take care of. Um, but yeah, I feel like I have a lot of love to give, and I also feel like I can handle them because I've taught piano for so long, and I have some kids and some adults and some teens and things like that. And I know that I can give them back after an hour, so it's not like a true, test of what it would be like. Um, but I do feel like we have the tools. We can do that when the time is, not that the time is ever right, but I guess whenever it happens.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. All right. Last question, probably, maybe not, but last real question on my list. How does your sexuality bring you joy?
I think in so many ways. I hope you can hear the joy too. Like, it's such a joyful thing. I love the freedom that comes with it, and the taking away of competition as well. Like, I don't have to compete with a standard. I don't have to compete with like another straight dude because I'm not there anymore. I'm not on that level anymore. I'm not that I've leveled up or whatever, but I've just moved past that, I guess. Um and it's just so beautiful to be able to walk through the world and to see and try to understand things just as they are without judging them, without putting any pressure on them to be a different way. I mean, there's of course things that we all wish were different, especially when it comes to horrible things that happen in the world, but that's not what I mean. I mean just like being able to enjoy people for people, and being able to enjoy the winter for the winter, even though it's like cold and dark and rainy the whole time, but just to kind of be able to find the joy in everything, and accept things the way that they are, because I've been able to accept myself. I also love, I mean, I've talked about London being a good vibe, right? But like being on the tube and just being like, you know what? I don't have to feel bad about taking 2-second glances at that person with a really strong jaw. Like, we love a strong jaw,
Yeah.
And I don't have to be worried about it. I mean, obviously, like, I wouldn't stare them down because that's creepy, but to just be like, you know what? This is a new thing now. I can think about what I like, and not feel like it's a threat. We can talk about, like, my wife and I can talk about boys that we think are cute together, and that's totally fine. It just feels like so much of a freer experience. So I don't know if there's like one thing that brings me joy. It's just the whole thing. It's the whole package. It's the whole mindset. It's the whole experience. And it's I'm hoping it'll get better. I'm sure it will. It only has since I've come out. So it's just all exciting.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, I identify with pretty much everything you just said, and that freedom, and like even if you're not going to talk to someone on the subway, just like having the thought that that person is hot and I can acknowledge that and not have to look away quickly and deny that I was looking, like that's just very freeing. And I can hear in your voice and see on video the energy you have around this and the joy that it does bring. And if you're listening to this and not watching the video, you should go watch the video on Patreon, because it is, you can really see it. You can see the difference. And people in my life told me that before and after I came out, like they could feel the energy difference when they're around me. And you don't fully realize how how transformative it can be until it happens.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else on your mind that we didn't get a chance to talk about? It's okay if there's not.
Oh, not necessarily that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but what you just said made me think of when I caught up with a friend the other day who I hadn't seen in like months, like almost a full year. And he was like, "Oh, look at you. You seem so much lighter." And I was like, "It's not all the gymnastics that I've been doing. It's the bi energy that I'm bringing." And that was great.
Yeah, cool. That is awesome. And well, it's lovely to see you again.
You as
Thank you
well.
so much thanks so much for doing the interview last year and being in the book and coming back to talk today, and for all the wisdom and vulnerability and joy that you have shared with us. I do think it's going to really affect so many people who are going through similar stuff, and hopefully we can keep this going and encourage this kind of openness from more people. Awesome. Thank you so much again. Great to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Two Bi Guys is produced and edited by me, Rob Cohen, and it was created by me and Alex Boyd. Our logo art is by Caitlin Weinman. Our music is by Ross Mincer. We are supported by the Gotham, and we are part of the Zencastr Creator Network. Visit patreon.com/RobertBrooksCohen for bonus content, early access, exclusive videos, and behind-the-scenes outtakes. Thanks so much for your support, and thanks for listening to Two Bi Guys.